Hi everyone, it's Evan again with GuideStar. Today I want to talk about people. Why do you think in the cybersecurity world that the vast majority of attacks are aimed at people rather than systems? I'll tell you why. IT can patch hardware. We can update software. We can't patch the sales team. We can't get you to the point where we can roll out automated updates and everybody has the knowledge to stay safe that they need. And hackers know that, and they focus on hacking the people rather than the systems first. Today, I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about training and testing your people. Let's start with the good. A good training program. What makes a good training program? Well, there's several different things that make a good training program. The biggest of which is it has to be policy driven and centrally managed. However you're going to do that, whether through a third party or internally, your policies have to state how often, what kind, the types of training that your people are going to have. Second, your content should be third party administered. Don't try to write your own training content. You'll go crazy. IT people can't make pictures pretty. We're not experts at e-learning. Get some content from a reputable third party who's going to keep that content up to date. Another thing it needs to be is it needs to be required. Training your people should not be something that's optional. If they touch a system in your company that requires a computer, a cell phone, or any other connected device, you have to be training these people. It should be reoccurring. Training should happen on a semi-frequent basis. Whether for your company that may be annually. For some companies, maybe it's quarterly. In a particularly risky tech scenario, for a company who's dealing with a lot of security risk, maybe there's monthly updates to their training. But it needs to be documented and it needs to be happening often. The other thing is it needs to leverage a testing component. Training isn't enough by itself. How do you know that the training is working for those employees that carry risk within your environment? The most common testing mechanism is the phish test, email-based compromise run by a third party or your IT department where you're able to find out who's falling prey to these issues or these attacks that hackers are putting out there. Which of your people needs more training, which need less? The other thing about training is you should look at making your training role specific. Not all jobs within an organization need to know all the same things about security and the types of risks they carry. Should your finance department have some specialized training about security in the finance world and compliance? Yeah. Does your IT team need more training than anybody else? Absolutely. Training is essential, but making sure that people get the right training is even more important. Another thing is training has to be comprehensive across the organization, and that means everyone. If they touch a system, like I said before, from the CEO to the person who logs in once a week to fill out a timesheet, if they're touching a system or a computer or even having access to your building, training is important. Make sure that they are getting trained. The last thing I'll say is a good training program that contains these components drives to accountability and cultural adoption. It becomes a part of who you are as a company, and people are aware that, hey, the things I'm learning in here and the things I'm being tested on in here are things that are going to be important for me to be successful at this organization. And it helps in so many other ways when you're rolling out systemic changes, when you're pushing change to adopt new technologies from a cybersecurity standpoint. Having employees who understand the risks related to cybersecurity is just so important. So let's move on to the bad. Now, when I say bad, I don't really mean this is bad. It's better than nothing, but it's not good. Bad training programs are flash in the pan. We're going to go do this once. Everybody's going to have the knowledge. They're going to be good forever. It's just not true. The approaches change. The technologies change. The way that groups and hackers are coming after you will change. You have to make sure it's that recurring component. So a one-time training is just not enough. It's not policy driven. Maybe it's opportunistic. You've got an opportunity to do some training. You found a free online resource. You've got a webinar. Let's all go to this. We'll check this box. Well, what are you really trying to learn? What are you really protecting? What risks do your business have per your policy? It needs to be incorporated into your policy. Bad training programs also may only include a portion of employees. Let's say a company has a breach in their payroll department. So they decide that they're going to get training for their payroll team. One time to curb that gap, never going to happen again. Meanwhile, the folks in the AP department who serve a very similar function, maybe they need the training, but they didn't do it. The folks in the AR department who are the opposite side of that equation, maybe they need the training and you didn't do it. You have to make sure you're training everyone and that is specific to their role. Another thing you fall prey to in the bad environment is that training isn't comprehensive. Maybe you're only training on one subject. Security in the workplace, and especially in the remote workplace, needs to be comprehensive. If your program isn't covering at a minimum password best practices, phishing, vishing, and smishing, what is malware and how does it work? What is social engineering? Public networks and public Wi-Fi and how you travel and access your systems remotely. And then also clean workspace, physical security, as well as your company's own policies and procedures for security. All of these things need to be incorporated in a good program, and a bad one may just check one or two. Oftentimes, bad training programs are just training. Watch this video and you're going to be safe. There's no follow-up, there's no testing included. You have to have a testing component in this. You have to have not just content, but actionable, skill-based things you can lean on to hold your people accountable. Really what you get with bad, where good drives to accountability and cultural adoption, a bad program leads to a one-and-done mentality where the information goes in one ear and out the other. You may end up getting a few people that really gravitate to it and you're able to see a little bit of benefit from it, and maybe one or two situations where your employees don't fall prey to a particular attack. But overall, you're not going to be as safe, and the time and energy you spend running a bad program is going to be less effective and therefore less valuable than a more comprehensive good program. Now, let's talk about the ugly. Remember, when we talk about these, again, these are not a judgment. If you're listening to this and you fall into bad or the ugly, that's exactly what this video is for. What can you do to improve? Become aware. Ugly programs are programs that are actively resistant. I've seen many times talking to top leaders, you hear things like, that's why we have insurance. This is what IT's for. Our people are smarter than this. We can't afford the distraction from the work that makes us money to train and test our people. This is just not true. The idea that training your people is not worth the time. The biggest expense almost any organization has is its people. Why would you consider it less valuable to ensure your people were able to help keep bad actors at bay than you would investing in systems and spending time patching and updating systems? You have to put your investment where your value is. And if you value your people, you will get your people trained. The biggest thing with a bad program is there is no program. It is just a matter of time before one of your very conscientious employees, through no action of their own, gets tricked, falls prey to a phishing message, gives out a username and password, leaves a sticky note with their password on their desk, doesn't know how to respond when they find out, doesn't know what the escalation paths are, is afraid to tell if something bad happens, and your company has a serious cybersecurity incident. So please, if you are in the ugly category, invest in time and energy to train your people and to get them the resources and capabilities they need in order to keep your company safe. So there you have it. Hopefully you found this useful today. If you don't have a training program in place, GuideStar can really help you define what that looks like, find you the resources you need, help you administer, fill out your policies, whatever you may need. We've got options for you if you want to have a conversation. Please reach out. As always, remember to follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Check out our website at www.guide-star.com. And remember, make sure it's legit before you commit. Don't get burned. Stay safe, everyone. Thanks again.